I feel like maybe Blake smelled his kindness, mistook it for weakness, and tried to take advantage and take power, so.
Wow.
Blake Lively is freaking out after one of her victims finally breaks the silence on her pathetic behavior.
Well, in the 60 Minutes piece, it really concludes with the fact that this was a smear campaign.
Yes, Blake's not the victim. It's the people who had to work with her.
She can't prepare for what she doesn't know they have, and again, they have a lot.
And now, the same journalist she tried to humiliate, he's back, and he's not playing nice. The internet has Wi-Fi and memory, and on April 14th, 2025, that memory came back in the form of Peter Kiefer, the Hollywood Reporter journalist who quite literally lives rent-free in Blake's head. The same Peter she tried to cancel in 2024 for daring to say Justin Baldoni's faith influenced his direction on It Ends With Us.
With the Hollywood Reporter, his name is Peter Kiefer, and he wrote that article that actually Blake Lively hated and came after and said it was really a sexist piece that he had written about her when he talked about how Justin Baldoni's faith played a big part in on set.
Imagine that. A director's personal values informing his work? Groundbreaking. But apparently, it was so offensive to Blake that she slapped the sexist label on it like it was a red carpet gown.
Even if Justin was too huggy or whatever the heck, or said she was sexy, none of this warrants this. And you still have to atone for what you did.
Now fast forward to this year's 60 Minutes Australia episode, where Peter makes a casual, blink and you miss it appearance. And we have what can only be described as a meltdown of Kardashian tier proportions. Blake allegedly blew up behind the scenes, not because Peter said anything new, he didn't, but because he existed. Literally, just the fact that this man reappeared on a screen for 5 minutes had her PR team diving into DEFCON 1 mode. Like, were they not briefed on what a documentary is?
As a publicist and being a PR professional for over 20 years, I'm a huge believer of ethics.
And can we talk about how beautifully unbothered Peter Kiefer was? Man just showed up, restated the same facts he already published, and dipped. Meanwhile, Blake's PR crew was reportedly scrambling like it was the Met Gala, and she had nothing to wear. Social media went absolutely nuts. Reddit threads popped up faster than Ryan Reynolds' aviation gin ads, and X, formerly Twitter, yes, we're still calling it X, now apparently, was dragging Blake through digital mud, demanding she explain the glaring holes in her narrative.
It's not like we as an audience couldn't see what was happening and what she was saying, and we didn't agree with what she was saying, and people started talking about it on social media. And I think my interview with her is such a good example.
Because let's be honest, if Blake's story was airtight, why is a 5-minute interview by a calm, composed journalist causing this much chaos? It's almost like she's afraid of the truth. But hey, what do I know? I'm just someone who still can't figure out how Blake Lively managed to turn a movie about domestic abuse into her own personal PR redemption tour.
In the 60 Minutes piece, it really concludes with the fact that this was a smear campaign. Like this guy is saying that it's impossible that it wasn't, and they didn't interview anyone who said anything otherwise.
Now, while Blake was busy spiraling, someone else decided to finally speak up, and not in a carefully worded Notes app apology. Enter Talia Spencer. Yes, a literal design team member, not even cast or senior crew, just someone who actually worked on the visual side of the film. And yet her words had more weight than anything Blake has mumbled through her publicist.
One of them was a woman. She's called Talia Spencer. She was actually working with Justin Baldoni on It Ends With Us, and she had nothing but good things to say about Justin Baldoni.
Talia came into that 60 Minutes segment like a walking reality check. Her exact words? I felt more comfortable being around Justin than a lot of film directors in my experience. That's it. That line alone knocked Blake's whole victim narrative off its pedestal. Like, you could feel the PR team collectively scream into their oat milk lattes.
In my opinion, I find it very hard to believe the allegations against him.
And just to make sure Blake heard it from every possible corner of the internet, that quote pulled over 3 million views on TikTok within 36 hours. You can't even pay for that kind of traction. though I wouldn't put it past Team Blake to try. But Talia didn't stop there. She straight up said Blake mistook Justin's kindness for weakness and tried to take control of the entire film.
And the host asked her, did you ever feel uncomfortable around Justin Baldoni? And she said no.
I would say I felt more comfortable being around Justin than a lot of film directors in my experience.
Sorry, what? That's the kind of line that belongs in a Marvel villain monologue, not a behind-the-scenes featurette. Talia also revealed Justin personally reached out to her to bring her on board, pitching a vision centered around empowering young women. Sounds like a guy with a mission, right? Not the monster Blake's been painting in her carefully crafted media campaigns.
An employee from the movie It Ends With Us speaks out in support of Justin Baldoni for Australia's 60 Minutes.
And here's the kicker. Talia openly accused Blake of wresting control of the film and completely derailing the original purpose. A design team member said this on international television. You know how bold that is? She basically called out a Hollywood darling with a billion-dollar couple brand, while knowing full well that WME and Blake's inner circle are probably screenshotting everything she does. No NDA in the world could silence this level of truth.
She's willing to speak out when nobody else right now has.
Bill,
What do you make of the allegations and the complaints against him?
in my opinion, I find it very hard to believe the allegations against him.
And while Talia was roasting Blake without even raising her voice, Peter Kiefer was silently getting the last laugh. Let's not forget, this is the same reporter Blake tried to blacklist. When his article originally dropped in 2024, she called it sexist and inflammatory, launched a passive-aggressive Instagram campaign, and allegedly asked publicists to stop working with him. How did that go, you ask? Well, the article became one of Hollywood Reporter's most read stories that year. So yeah, nice try, Blake, but Peter's career didn't tank. Yours might, though.
We work with a bunch of creepos. Justin was perfectly fine. And again, this is like all circumstantial stuff, right? Like, just to say someone felt fine didn't mean something else didn't happen. But it doesn't hurt Justin's case. It doesn't hurt his PR.
Flash forward to 2025, and Peter is now the symbol of everything Blake can't control. He doesn't yell. He doesn't rant. He just shows up on 60 Minutes, states his facts again, like a professor reviewing a syllabus, and that alone sends Blake's image into cardiac arrest. People didn't even need the full segment. Just Peter's 5-minute FaceTime sparked hashtags like Blake, exposed, and #justice for Justin. That's what happens when you poke the internet bare. The same one you thought would back you when you weaponized your celebrity tears.
They showed a lot of Blake Lively's evidence, but they showed nothing from Justin Baldoni's side. It was just like Blake Lively accused him of this and that and showed the text messages that was in the New York Times.
And the funniest part? Peter didn't retract a single word. He stood firm, unshaken, like, imagine being called out by one of the most influential celebrities in Hollywood and still refusing to budge because you actually have receipts. That's a level of calm that could cure my anxiety. Meanwhile, Blake's over here doing digital damage control like her publicist's laptop is on fire. You'd think she was fighting for her life in a courtroom, not a documentary.
As TMZ's now reporting, of course witnesses are staying anonymous. They're terrified of threats and bullying. Now this smells like Blake's PR team trying to spin why they're not coming forward.
It's honestly giving high school drama. Like, you didn't invite me to your birthday party, so I'm going to spread rumors about your boyfriend type of energy. Except this time, the boyfriend is a director. The party is a movie set, and the rumors are part of a full-blown media campaign. So let's do a quick recap. Peter Kiefer shows up on TV, and Blake loses her grip on the steering wheel of the narrative.
There's a lot of comments that she puts in here that you're just like, why would you want to take over someone's movie? The outfits in this end are so out of touch. No, we don't want to watch bullies like Blake.
Talia Spencer, a literal non-celebrity, flips the script by saying the thing everyone was already thinking, that Blake isn't some misunderstood genius, she's just a control freak with a megaphone. And instead of using it to uplift women like the film intended, she used it to bury a man who was trying to make something meaningful.
We always want our work to have a meaningful impact, and a lot of us in film do it because we care, and to see it be overtaken by this was definitely a little bit sad.
this is a saga that's not ending anytime soon.
60 Minutes Australia really thought they were about to clear Blake Lively's name and silence the internet. Like, bless their hearts for trying, but what they ended up producing on April 14, 2025 was not a journalistic masterpiece. It was a PR infomercial with lighting. Fans weren't buying it for a second. In fact, they dubbed the whole segment a one-sided propaganda piece, which is putting it mildly. Honestly, I've seen fan cams on TikTok with more balance and credibility.
Witnesses are staying anonymous. They're terrified of threats and bullying. It's a very neutral and interesting piece.
So, let's talk about what actually aired. Blake's team got their golden opportunity to finally set the record straight. They dropped their collection of heavily curated texts, conveniently timed voice notes, and of course, zero response from Justin Baldoni. Not a single counterpoint. No emails, no voice memos, not even a blurry screenshot of his side. You know, the kind of stuff you'd expect in actual journalism. But no, they basically aired Blake's Notes app and called it a documentary.
It was just because of the way he is culturally with his religion. I want to go through some of these pieces because, hear me out, here it is. So, from the outset, the feud's been framed as the newest chapter in Hollywood's ongoing fight for gender equality.
Even the PR expert they interviewed, and this part is rich, seemed like he was shading Blake. He made some incredibly passive-aggressive remarks about how, if you mess up, the best thing to do is own up to it. And somehow, the producers tried to spin that like he was scolding Justin. Are you kidding me? The guy literally sounded like he was talking about her, but with the magic of editing, they Frankensteined the quote into something else. It's giving 2007 paparazzi tabloid energy, and not in a good way. Let's not forget, Talia Spencer was the only voice in that entire episode who even slightly questioned Blake's version of events. One person, everyone else, handpicked to reinforce her narrative.
I feel like maybe Blake smelled his kindness, mistook it for weakness, and tried to take advantage and take power, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you believe Blake Lively wrestled control of the film?
I think she tried to, yes.
And yet somehow, even with all the production bias in her favor, Blake still managed to walk away from that episode with more people questioning her story. How do you mess that up? You get an entire TV segment handed to you, and instead of clearing your name, you manage to reignite an internet scandal that was already burning low. It's almost impressive. But the real kicker? That episode didn't just make Blake look suspicious, it made the media look complicit. Lazy journalism, biased editing, no cross-examination, no Justin, and viewers noticed.
Even this one guy, the publicist that was interviewed, he said something that I thought was definitely aimed at Blake Lively, but then they edited it so it looked like it was aimed at Justin Baldoni.
Reddit threads called it embarrassing, manipulative, and a waste of airtime. Hashtags like number 60 minutes fail started trending, and the backlash was immediate. So instead of shutting down the drama, the segment poured gasoline on it, lit a match, and then acted shocked when it exploded.
I don't know what you think about this.
When you are faced with a crisis, if you did it or anything remotely to it, the biggest thing you can do and the most accepting thing in the court of public opinion is to own up to it.
And just when you thought the circus couldn't get any more ridiculous, enter the troll farms. Yes, literal troll farms. The 60 Minutes segment featured a digital warfare expert who pretty much confirmed that Blake's campaign had all the hallmarks of an artificial smear job.
Basically concluded that there was a PR smear campaign. They showed a lot of Blake Lively's evidence, but they showed nothing from Justin Baldoni's side.
According to him, bot-generated posts were likely used to amplify hate against Justin. Classic move? Fake accounts launch the attack, real people pick it up thinking it's organic, and boom, you've got yourself a PR wildfire. The goal? Manufacture outrage that feels real enough to sway public opinion. And Blake's team executed it like it was a Netflix strategy meeting. I mean, come on. What kind of organic outrage campaign forgets to include Justin's leaked emails? Especially the one where Blake literally wrote, "I can call my dragons." What kind of normal person says that in a professional setting? That's not a red flag. That's a giant inflatable one with fireworks.
And they just showed that with no context. They didn't explain what it was. They didn't explain anything about the email she had sent him with, you know, I can call my dragons, whatever. That was just completely left out of this documentary, this segment.
And can we talk about the expert's quote that basically sent the internet into a frenzy? He said, "If this was real, why is only one side allowed to speak?" Exactly. Like if your story is airtight, then why does Justin get cut out of every interview? Why are we hearing staged voicemails with no timestamps, but not a single one of Justin's responses? It's giving, if I control the narrative, I control the truth, which is just another way of saying, I've got something to hide.
It's easy to do that. So he said that it probably started with bots saying horrible things about Blake Lively, and then it got picked up and it spread organically.
Right, now that's the whole goal of this, is to start off with something that's artificial and hopefully it grows to be organic.
Blake's entire campaign, from the bots to the biased edits, feels less like a defense and more like a high-budget manipulation scheme. And it all would have been slightly less tragic if this wasn't supposed to be a film about domestic abuse awareness. Instead, she hijacked the whole thing and made it about herself.
I don't know why bots would start saying negative things about her, because all of us could see the way she was behaving on the press tour and blah, blah, blah.
Let's remember what It Ends With Us was actually meant to be. A film shedding light on the cycle of abuse, the pain of survivors, and the complexities of healing. What did Blake do with that powerful premise? She took it, chewed it up, and spit out a self-serving PR arc where she's both the director and the victim. Talia Spencer even confirmed it. She said Blake completely changed the tone of the film, twisted the narrative away from Justin's original vision, and then plastered her own creative stamp all over it.
Blake Lively, much more different culturally, more about the power and thinking that this is about the feminist Me Too movement. How dare you do this?
This wasn't creative control. This was hijacking a cause for clout. The project went from something meaningful to a self-obsessed monologue. Sources from behind the scenes even said that staff felt silenced. People were afraid to show support for Justin, worried they'd be iced out or blacklisted. In 2025, in Hollywood, and you're telling me this woman is still trying to sell herself as the misunderstood protagonist?
You definitely believe that there was a smear campaign and that Justin Baldoni went after her and that his publicist made all of this bad press happen. So yeah, completely biased like all the other documentaries we've seen so far.
But it doesn't stop there. Internet sleuths started digging into Blake's past posts. And surprise, surprise, she's been scrubbing the internet cleaner than a Kardashian post-breakup. She deleted praise for Justin, wiped posts where she called him a visionary, and replaced them with sterile PR safe captions. That's not just suspicious, that's textbook narrative erasure. Like girl, if you want to rebrand, at least try to be subtle about it. Blake didn't amplify a cause. She buried it under her ego, and in doing so, she did more harm than good. She turned a movie about survival into a spectacle about herself. A woman who could have used her platform to uplift others, used it to bulldoze her co-creator and paint herself as a martyr. And for what? Control? Vanity? A clean comment section?
There's a lot of comments that she puts in here that you're just like, why would you want to take over someone's movie? The outfits in this end are so out of touch. No, we don't want to watch bullies like Blake.
So let's not pretend this is just a misunderstanding or a creative disagreement. This is a calculated move. From the 60 Minutes propaganda, to the bot-driven smear jobs, to the erasure of Justin's voice, every step of this has been about control.
They were just interviewing other people who supported Blake Lively's claims. They also showed or aired a part of Justin Baldoni's voice memo, the one that leaked when he called her at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Not healing, not art, not justice, just control. And that's where we are, Endo. A film that started with heart is now a case study in how not to handle power, ego, and storytelling. Because when the lead actress becomes the villain, No amount of edited voice notes or bot armies can save you from the truth. And the drama didn't end with crying on cue and deleting Instagram posts. Welcome to the gin-scented courtroom edition of the Blake Lively saga, where subpoenas smell like lime and betrayal. The real tea? The infamous Jones Works subpoena wasn't even part of Blake's original legal arsenal. Nope.
Jones Work produced the communications to Miss Lively in a connection with a lawful subpoena, and the documents included within this complaint are attached in the format in which they were produced subject to the subpoena.
It allegedly snuck in the back door through a completely unrelated copyright lawsuit involving none other than her charmingly smug husband, Ryan Reynolds, and his Golden Boy brand Aviation Gin. Yes, you read that right. Blake's legal team didn't subpoena Jones Works directly. They allegedly leveraged a copyright tiff tied to Aviation Gin to snatch private communications between Blake, Ryan, and their PR firm.
She has understood the produced documents and communications to have been lawfully obtained. That's how she understood it. They were lawfully obtained, maintained, and produced by Jones Work.
So basically, Ryan's gin brand somehow became a weaponized legal Trojan horse to dig up texts. If that doesn't scream manipulation with a twist of lime, I don't know what does. But wait, it gets even sketchier. Because while Blake's team denied that Ryan had anything to do with it, surprise, surprise, sharp-eyed fans noticed he still follows the woman who sued him on Instagram. In 2025. You can unfollow people silently, folks, but Ryan didn't.
Ryan Reynolds is still following Marilyn Starclough. Why would you follow somebody that sues you for a copyright issue? Well, I guess only if it was by accident, but also maybe you follow them because they were in on the conspiracy to use that lawsuit.
Which only makes the already unhinged Reynolds was in on it theory gain traction faster than one of his deadpan gin commercials. So, let's just say, when your lawsuit looks more like a PR stunt, and your I had nothing to do with it story ends with you still stalking your courtroom co-star online, people are going to raise eyebrows.
I guess only if it was by accident, but also maybe you follow them because they were in on the conspiracy to use that lawsuit as a way to get a hold of the subpoena. But other people are saying, actually, no.
And it gets better. According to legal experts who actually understand this chaos, unlike Blake's PR team, Rule 45 may have been the secret weapon here. That's a federal procedural loophole allowing attorneys to sneakily issue subpoenas for non-party documents without court approval. Translation? Blake's team might have legally finessed their way into getting confidential info from a completely separate case, just to build a narrative. If this was a movie script, you'd think it was too far-fetched. But no, it's just Tuesday in Livelyland.
Justin Baldoni's subreddit to find out, because it feels above my pay grade. But essentially, it's just a whole bunch of lawyers doing their lawyer things, trying to be like, how the heck is there a subpoena? What would they have done to get it? And and again, will this be information that comes out? Because if the information does come out, I think it could go to illustrate the motivations of people behind it, how they stumbled upon all of this information that led to one of the biggest pop culture cases in the world.
So here we are. A tangled web of gin, subpoenas, Instagram follows, and more red flags than a communist parade, all to prop up a crumbling storyline and paint Justin Baldoni as the villain, while Blake keeps sipping on selective outrage and silence. Honestly, someone call Netflix, because this isn't even Hollywood drama anymore. It's an international chess game with passive-aggressive hashtags.
So the way I take this is, well, if those texts weren't real or they were edited, it wasn't our fault, they were Jones' work. But girl, they are your fault.
Now, speaking of moves with consequences, let's talk about the Hollywood industry, which has been quietly watching this mess unfold like it's the finale of a reality show no one admits to watching. And guess who just became the main character no one wants to cast? That's right, Blake Lively. See, while she's been busy curating soft-focus selfies and avoiding public accountability like it's an unpaid sponsorship deal, Talia Spencer stepped into the fire without flinching. Sure, insiders say Talia might have torched some career bridges by speaking out, but she gained something that Blake seems to have traded in for attention: respect, authenticity. backbone. The internet may love drama, but Hollywood respects guts, and Talia just served an entire buffet of it.
Any suggestion Baldoni behaved poorly couldn't be further from the man she knows and respects.
How did you first find out that you were going to be working on It Ends With Us?
I got an email from Justin, and then he called me out of nowhere and pitched to me the vision of the film.
Meanwhile, casting directors are reportedly wary, very wary, of Blake's involvement in anything remotely creative. Because once you become known as the actor who hijacks a project and turns it into a walking PR campaign, studios start asking hard questions. Like, will she listen to the director? And is she gonna smear our editor if she doesn't like her final cut? Oh, and the big one, will we need a legal team on standby every time she wants to rewrite a line? It's not just casting agents giving her the side eye. PR firms are now distancing themselves too. And not just from Blake, but from the entire Lively Reynolds empire and Jones Works as well. Turns out, no one wants to be associated with a scandal that involves trolls, lawsuits, and alleged text message manipulation. PR firms are supposed to clean up messes, not become Exhibit A in the court of public opinion. Blake Lively's carefully curated image is crashing hard. Peter Kiefer's old articles are suddenly viral again, and fans are dissecting every word Blake once dismissed as misunderstood. Meanwhile, her silence, peppered with vague Instagram posts and lemon water, only fuels the backlash. Her attempt to cancel Justin Baldoni backfired spectacularly, turning It Ends With Us into a Hollywood cautionary tale. Legal experts are calling her tactics shady, and industry insiders are backing away fast. The narrative's shifted. People are siding with the underdog, and Blake's Pinterest-perfect brand is cracking. With subpoenas, smear campaigns, and silence stacking up, the question isn't if she'll bounce back, it's what else she's hiding. Because at this point, the Blake Lively Show is officially off script. Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next episode of this beautiful meltdown.